Okay, welcome back. We are going to export the chimes and then bring them into the Substance Painter and texture them. Okay, so um, one thing to get out of the way is that for every single model you have, you don't necessarily need a high poly model for every model you make for a game engine. A high poly model is going to help you get more details into a model that has less polygons, right? So if you're working at a studio, it's likely you're going to get a poly budget, or in other words, this is the number of polygons you have to make a particular, prop or character or model or whatever, right? And you'll need to optimize and figure out how to do that. And you can get far more details if you create a high poly version and then you bake those details onto a low poly version. For this model, we're just going to use this model and not create a high poly version. There are other tutorials and videos on my channel that do show like creating a high poly version and then baking onto a low poly version, and there will be more in the future of that. I'm trying to pump this out quickly for students in a particular class of mine to help them. Okay, so I'm going to select the chimes, and then I'm going to go File, Export Selection, and I made a folder on my desktop called Chimes. If you use the project folder, which I recommend for Maya, put this in your data folder of the project folder. But you could also just kind of organize it into a single folder like I'm doing here. So I'm going to name this Chimes, and as long as I've selected the group, right, it's going to export this as an FBX, and it's going to export all the pieces. So I'll hit Export Selection, then I'll open up the Chimes folder. Here's my scene, and then here's the FBX I just exported. Great. All right, I'm now going to open up Substance Painter. Okay, here I am in Substance Painter. Awesome. So I'm going to go to File, New. I want this to say PBR Metallic Roughness. Any of the PBR Metallic roughness will do, but yeah, I'll just keep it on this one. That's fine. Where it says File, I'll click on Select, and then I'm going to navigate to, you can see all my games here. Hit me up if you want to play some games. All right, I'm going to click on Chimes, open up this Chimes, hit Open, change this drop down to 2048. This is the resolution of the textures that we're going to create. And Substance Painter, you can change this at any time, which is awesome. But we'll just leave it at 2048 for now. And make sure Auto Unwrap is unchecked. And we don't need to do anything else. I'll hit OK. And let's see if this works. Awesome. So one thing I always do is I just kind of check out the model, right, and see what's going on. And one thing I'm noticing right away is that these interior faces have hard edges, which I don't want. What else? Let's just look around here. These ones have soft edges. That's good. There's some hard edges here. We want to get rid of that. And how's this look? That's good. I like that. Okay. So in order to get rid of the hard edges, we're going to fix that in Maya and then re-export. So I'll open Maya back up, and I'm going to select the chimes, hit Control-1, and go to Face, select all of these faces in here. And then go to Mesh Display, Soften Edge, and then double click on these edges. Mesh Display, Harden Edge, Control-1, and then I'll come down here and let's see, I'm going to turn off this so we can see these hard edges, see that? And I actually want, so I'm going to click on one of these, hold shift, double click on the next one, and it'll grab all of those in that face, in that edge ring. And I'll do the same for this and the same for this. And then Mesh Display, Soften Edge. And then I actually want this edge to be hard. So I'm going to double click here, hold shift, double click here, and Mesh Display, Harden Edge. So we get something like this. Let's go ahead and select, double click on this edge, hold shift, double click on this edge, hit G to harden that edge too, and yeah, this is what I want, I think. I'm going to select those and these, mesh display, soften edge. That looks good to me. Okay, great. So I'll select Chimes again, File, Export Selection. I'm just going to replace the other Chimes, replace it. Then I'll go back to Substance Painter, File, New, Select, Chimes, 2048. Okay, discard. There we go. Okay, that's better. So now I'm not getting those hardened edges. This looks the way I want it to. Cool. All right. So on the right side we have the UVs, and on the left side we have the model itself. Cool. The first thing we need to do is bake this. Even if we don't have a high poly model, we're going to bake the low poly model against itself. That will give us the baked maps we need for many of the tools and materials to work appropriately. So to do that, I'll click on this texture set settings, scroll down, and click on bake mesh maps. Here, let's change this to 2048, uncheck ID. And we can keep the rest of this on. And then I'm going to check this use low poly mesh as high poly mesh. So I'll check that, and I'll leave anti-aliasing. I'll change this to subsampling 4x4. Substance Painter works off of your graphics card, right? So if you have an older computer or not a great graphics card, you can either keep this at none or subsampling 2x2. And for now, I'll leave the rest as is and hit bake Lambert 1. It's going to go through and bake all those maps, and this will take just a second. Sometimes Substance Painter might appear to have to hang, like it's lagging, but just give it a minute, right? All right, so let's see. I'm looking for bake errors, like problems with the mesh, but it looks like it baked quite cleanly, which is excellent. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go back to layers. The first thing I like to do is create a fill layer, which is right here, add fill layer. There it is. And I'm going to name this curvature overlay. And down here where it says properties _ fill, anytime you change to a different layer, the properties are going to be unique for that layer. I have a Substance Painter, like some other exercises and tutorials in Substance Painter. If you want a bit more knowledge about Substance Painter than this video is going to provide, then I recommend checking out the screwdriver tutorial, which will go into a bit more depth with Substance Painter, okay? All right, so I'm going to, over here, I'm going to turn everything off, all these channels off, except for color. I'll click on base color. I'm going to type in CURV for curvature, and there's my curvature map. I'll click on this. Notice how it created a fill layer in the color channel, and it added the curvature map. And now we can see the edges are all highlighted. It's going to make things pop, but it's a bit too strong. So I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to overlay, and I'm going to turn the opacity down. We can always adjust this later, but for now, I'm just going to change this to 50. 50. Why is that not working? Oh, here we go. 50. Okay, cool. All right, next I like to do each object individually, just get something started. So I'll create a, let's see. Let's actually let's make the hardware. In other words, I'm going to use these basic materials here, which can be found right here. And I'm thinking about what I want to do. So maybe I could do like brass chimes and brass hardware. So let's just grab brass pure for now and drag it over here into the layer stack. All right, we obviously don't want this on everything. I can click on this box right here, and this will give me the list of things to apply it to, right, that it's going to apply to. So what I can do is I can uncheck things like, obviously I don't want the strings to be made of brass, so I'll uncheck that. The top brace, the ringer shouldn't be brass, and the wind catcher shouldn't be brass, but maybe the rest are, right? Let's see what else. Let's grab, and we're going to manipulate this much further than just applying these basic materials, but I like to get things kind of going in here. Copper. Okay. So that's good. Okay, let's grab a wood. Let's grab a walnut wood and drop it in here. And right now we can see the seams quite a bit, right, where there's a texture seam here. We don't want that. And it looks like this is also impacting this. If I drag this up here, I'm going to change base color to height, and I'm going to change brass pure to normal. Okay, and then I'll go to normal and change brass pure's drop down to normal, and roughness, that's good. Height, metallic. I'll change that to normal, and normal, I'll change this to normal. Okay, let's change this from UV projection to triplanar. And let's turn off the normals for now. And let's adjust the color a little bit. Something like this. And then I can take tiling, maybe increase it a little bit. And then I can grab this, change this back to base color, grab this, and we don't want it on the chimes. We just want it, we don't want it on the ring. We do want it on the ringer. We don't want it on the S hook or the strings. Top brace is good, wind catcher is good. I'll click back on this, and let's actually turn normal back on. That's good for now. Let's go ahead and do the strings next. The strings, I'm just going to create a new fill layer. I'll name this strings. And I'm going to turn off emissive, opacity. I'll turn off normal. I'll turn off height. So for roughness, I'll turn this all the way up on the roughness. For base color, we don't want pure blacks, right? We just want something maybe like this is good. Roughness, we want that up. Metallic. Well, actually, we don't need metallic. I'll turn metallic off. That's good. Let's go ahead and make sure only the strings are selected for this. Cool. And then let's actually make these a different material, these like little indentation things, just to give us some more detail. So I'm going to, let's see, we can delete layer 1. We're not using that. Let's create Let's start with like a copper. And I'm going to put this at the top actually, or underneath curvature overlay. And let's choose a darker copper, something more interesting like this. So I clicked on this and chose a different color. And then I'm going to add a right click, add black mask. Now I can select between the material and this black box, which is the mask. I'm going to select this mask here, and I'm going to come over here and click on this polygon fill. Then fill mode, I'm going to click on this UV chunk fill, and now I can come in and click once, twice, right, to unmask that portion. And I'm noticing this color is quite similar to the wood, so let's tweak it even more. So I'll come over here, maybe something pretty aggressive like that. And then I'm just going to go through and click once for this UV shell, and then for this one. You know, I could go over here and click all these, but I don't want to have to. Sometimes it's faster doing that if you know where your shells are. But for these little guys, I'd have to kind of search around for a minute, so it would be quicker to do it this way. I can also go over here and do 3D only, so that I can just look at this for a second, so I get more real estate on my screen. Whoops, I accidentally selected a string, turning it into copper. I think I got them all. Yes, I did. Okay. Let's go ahead, and I actually think I want this S-hook to be something different. So I'm going to drag in something else like steel rust. I'll pull this up here, and I'll make sure that the S-hook is the only thing that is selected. And then I'll click on steel rust and wear. Let's zoom in a little and come over here, and we can turn the rust intensity up a little bit, and let's make the steel a little bit brighter. And then let's turn on UV projection to triplanar. I should have done that first, because now I want to turn the rust down a little bit. Something like this, that's fine. And then let's change that to, what does it look like if I just the ring. Let's make that a different material. So I'll name this S-hook, and then let's do just steel rough here, and just have the ring selected. Click on this, change this to triplanar. Again, triplanar is going to help avoid showing seams, okay? That's pretty good. All right, this is looking good so far. Let's go ahead and, first I'll name this just ring. This will be chime connectors. Let's go ahead and start adding some wear so it doesn't look brand new, and adjusting things. Whoops. So I'm going to go to the wood walnut first, and I'm going to create a new folder actually. And where'd that folder go? Oh, no. New folder. There it is. And I'll name this wood. And I'm going to drag wood walnut into this folder. And then I'm going to right click. You can't see that. I'm going to right click, and at the top I'm going to click on, you can't see it, but at the top there's add black mask, and I'm going to add a black mask. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on, again, I'm in this polyfill. I'm going to click on and uncover the wood bits. So down here too. There we go. Just gonna check this. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and inside of the wood folder, let's create a new fill layer. This fill layer is going to be maybe like grime. And base color, I want this grime to be kind of darker, like maybe something like this, almost as if it's just kind of been hanging out. And so, so we can always change this stuff later. Height, we could play with height a little. I'll turn it up just a tiny bit. Roughness, I don't want this to be shiny, so I'll almost max that out. I can turn off metallic, opacity, emissive, and normal. Cool. And then I'm going to go over here to, where is it? Smart Mass. And I can look at these and they each have unique names, right? Like concrete edges 2, dirt cavities. And I want to find one that I'm happy with. And once you apply one, you can adjust all of these. Let's look at this one. So I'm going to drag this over on top of the grime layer. And it's having a very subtle effect right now. If any, I'm going to click on this. So I make sure this is selected, which is the mask. Then I'll click on curvature, or click on the mask. And then here we can, oh wait, where is it? Click on the mask, there we go. Click on this curvature and global balance, right? If you turn this up, you can control the strength, like how much grime is occurring. It's impacting this right now, but we can fix that here in a minute. Okay, back to base color. Looking at this global balance. Maybe something kind of like this. Okay. So the trick is we want variety in our materials, right? Sorry, I'm just looking at all this real quick. Right, let's rename this Chimes. Don't worry about what I'm doing at the moment. I'm just trying to figure something out why this is. Let's go here, and what if I turn off? Yeah, the height seems to be, all right. Not sure. I'm gonna turn height off for now. All right, I'll click on this mask right here. I'm gonna right click, and down near the bottom, right click, down there at the bottom is this, it says add paint. You can't see it right now, but if you add paint, then you could come through and paint by hand. And then if I go to brushes, I could find a brush that I want. I'm gonna look for maybe dirt 2. And you can see I can kind of like click and control, like paint by hand some of this. I'm looking for areas that are just a little too masked out. All right, let's go ahead inside the wood layer, add another fill, whoops, under here, and we'll name this one dirt. We will not have height or opacity, normal, emissive, metal. We will have roughness, that's at all the way up, and this will be more of a lighter, dusty color, something like this. And then let's go back to our smart masks, and we could type in dirt and see what we get, like something like this. Let's see what this looks like. That's quite a lot. Let's see, dusty dirt. That's better, but it's still too much. Dirt dry. Whoa. No thanks. Dirt cavities. There aren't really any cavities here. Edges dirty. Soft dirt. Let's click on this dirt mask. You can increase or decrease the dirt level. Leave that. Let's add a paint by right-clicking on this. Add paint. I'm going to change this from white to a darker color so that I'm painting away, so I can kind of paint. Or let's go to black. Yeah, I'll change this to black, and then I can like paint away some of the dirt on here, which is just, I think, too much. Kind of keep it near mostly the top where it might gather more. I could go this back to white and then just kind of go in between here. Okay. I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing this, but all right. So, but you can see, you can kind of just go through and manipulate each portion. And the goal is that you want to just provide variety, right? Like textures that have a lot of variety in them just generally look much, much better. All right, so something like this. Like we could even do something, if you wanted, we could even make like a stamp in here. Let's get these chimes kind of dinged up. So first, I don't want them to be quite as bright. Something like this would be better. Let's create a new folder. We'll name this Chimes. We'll drag Chimes, Chimes into here and chime connectors into here. Then we'll create a new fill layer. And actually, let's select this and make sure that only chimes are selected for that. All right, for this new fill layer, let's name this let's actually turn on material mode maybe and grab, where is it? I'll just type in brass, click on that. So now I've got essentially two brass ones, right? And this one I'm going to turn much more red. In roughness, I'm going to increase the roughness on this a little bit. And I'm going to put it underneath the chime connectors. And I'll just say chimes 2. And then I will look at my smart masks again. And just kind of browse around. Let's see what this surface wear looks like. Looks like nothing. Oh, you can kind of see it. If you hold shift and right click, you can rotate the light around. Let's undo that and let's look at subtle scratches. That one's a bit more obvious. Let's see, surface rust. What if I take this mask editor, click on mask editor, go to the top, global balance, and turn this up a bit. If we change, let's see, click on here, change this to triplanar projection. Go back to this mask editor. Cool, then I'll click on this, right click, add paint, and I'm going to use bracket keys to turn this down, and I want to paint away, like try and disguise, turn the hardness all the way up, try and disguise the shell, or like the seams that are here. So I saw a seam there, so I'm trying to hide that one. Here's one that is quite obvious, so I'll touch this up. All right, I'm going to take this and let's increase the roughness a little bit to dull this a little. And the base color is still quite bright. Let's maybe bring it a little closer. Then I'll come over here and add a new fill layer, and I could do this, pretty much forever, but we're going to wrap it up here soon. And you could press this, as much as you wanted. Let's put some dirt on here. Dirt, mask editor. All right, that's quite a lot right now, so we'll paint some of that back. First, I'm going to grab this number and turn the opacity down a little bit so it's not quite so aggressive. And then right-click, add paint. Then where it says paint, click on this. I'm going to change this to black. I'm going to increase this. And flow, I'm going to turn down quite a bit. And I'm just going to paint some of this away, especially down here. Some of this is like super dark. We have a gnarly seam right here, which we kind of need to fix. Excuse me. That's probably on a couple things. Let's see, Chimes. Change this to triplanar. Excuse me. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm looking at this again. All right, yeah, so back to paint. Let's change our flow again. Flow, turn that up. We want to disguise this, and we can play with adding and then taking away. I need to adjust my flow again. Turn this down. I just don't like that seam, so we want to make sure we get rid of it. Look around for other seams. There's one. Looks like this one might be in the this. Go to paint. Yeah. Just that. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this. There's a seam right there. Oh, I'm so sorry that I've got the sniffles, but I gotta get this done. Paint. All right. So that might be a bit much, but I'm just gonna and then actually let's go ahead and let's see if I drag this under the dirt layer. Let's take this and increase the roughness a little bit. Make it stand out a little less. Yeah. Okay, so we can do a couple things from here. First, let's save it. And I'll just put it inside this Chimes. And I'll name it just texture. Whoa, caps lock off. Texturing. And hit save. And then I'm going to click on this little camera icon, which will open up iRay. iRay is a renderer that is inside of Substance Painter if you want to take renders of your model. Here we go. Took a second to get going. We want to do a couple things here. I'm going to click on this icon right here. Let's do this one. And I'm going to, here, environment map, you can click on this and it will show you a bunch of different options that you can choose from. These are essentially just different lighting, for your PBR render, right? And then there's like studio ones. I kind of like Studio 3. I think that's nice, but you know, you could do whatever you think makes your model look the best. Whoops. Then you can hold shift and right click to rotate around. And then I don't like, for all my students, I make sure that you can't see whatever image is back here. So you're going to scroll down a little bit, check this clear color. You know, for the chimes, the chime wouldn't be resting on the ground like this. So I could actually grab this Y slider and pull it like down so the ground is further below. And then let's see. I'm not going to mess with focal distance. I can activate post effects. I could turn on like glare, for example, and turn the luminance down. And the threshold. Oh, I think I need to mess with some other things for this to work, but that's okay. We could also turn on the vignette, increase that a little bit. It's probably too strong what I have. That's okay. Then I'll go here and don't need to worry about about that. Let's go here. So this will give you the resolution of your image, which you can change right here. So I could override this if, let's say, I wanted a 1920 by like 1080. That'll show me what that looks like. And it's always best to start with an establishing view, an establishing shot. So essentially, something that does a good job of showing off the model if you're going to render it. So something like, maybe we're looking up at it, right? A little bit in this case, as if we're looking up on our porch and we see it. So something like this would be fine. And then it says rendering here. If your render is, if it says done up here and it's pixelated and doesn't look good, then that means you need to increase the maximum time a little bit. Try 15 seconds. If that's still an issue, try increasing the minimum samples and maximum samples. So I'll hit save render, and I'll just put it inside of here, and I'll just put Chimes render 1. You can save it as a JPEG or a PNG is fine. I'll do PNG and let's save. And if you're going to do more renders, then consider, shots from different angles, different, like closeness, different zoom levels. Just kind of explore different ideas, but you don't want to confuse the viewer, right? They should always understand what it is they're looking at, especially if they've seen your establishing shot first, right? So this texture work is really rough and fast. This could be way, way better, but going through this tutorial hopefully showed you, how you could get this done. All right, so once you're done taking renders, you can click on the camera again to go back here, and we need to get the textures out of here. In the next video, I'll show you how to do that. All right, see you then.